September 15, 2008, Lehman Brothers collapsed. The stock market began its free fall. And in one calendar year, the American economy shed 8.7 million jobs, the largest employment loss since the Great Depression. Robert watched it happen from his office. He was 48 years old. He had been working for 26 years. His 401k balance, which had been sitting at $280,000 the week before, dropped to $168,000 in 9 months. He lost $112,000 on paper in less than a year. It was brutal. He didn't sleep well. He stopped checking his balance. Lisa watched it happen from her college graduation ceremony. She was 22 years old. Her diploma was 3 weeks old. She had $28,000 in student debt, $400 in her checking account, and a job offer that had just been rescinded. Her future employer had enacted a hiring freeze the week before commencement. Robert lost $112,000. Lisa lost something harder to calculate. The same crash. 2 completely different financial outcomes. And when you track both of them forward, not to 2009, not to 2012, but all the way to retirement, the gap created by a single economic event in a single calendar year is $340,000. Not because Robert was smarter, not because Lisa made worse decisions, because Robert was 48 when the crash happened, and Lisa was 22. And in the math of compounding wealth, those 26 years of difference change everything about what a crash costs you. Robert was at the peak of his earning years in 2008. He had equity, he had assets, he had 2 decades of investment contributions behind him. The crash hurt him on paper, but he had something Lisa didn't have. He had time to recover, and he had assets to recover from. Lisa had neither. 0 home equity, 0 investment portfolio, 0 salary history, and an economy that had just stopped hiring people who looked exactly like her, young, entry-level, with a fresh degree and no professional network. The crash didn't interrupt Lisa's financial life. It delayed the start of it. And delay at age 22 is the most expensive thing that can happen to a financial timeline. If this is your first time watching this channel, this is part of the Gen X versus Millennials series, where every episode runs the actual numbers on a different financial gap between these 2 generations. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The $340,000 gap between Robert's and Lisa's retirement outcomes isn't one number. It's 3 separate costs, each one created by the same crash, each one hitting Lisa at a different point in her financial life over the following decade. We're going to build each one line by line. And by the time this video is done, the phrase "millennials just need to budget better" is going to sound like something from a different planet. That's next. The $340,000 gap doesn't come from one place. It comes from 3, each one starting in 2008, each one compounding differently, each one hitting Lisa at a different point over the following decade. Let's build them one at a time. Component 1, the salary scar. In 2009, when Lisa finally found a job, after 8 months of searching and 2 rounds of unpaid internships, she accepted a position paying $32,000 a year. Her original offer, the one rescinded the week before graduation, had been for $40,000. That $8,000 difference didn't last 1 year. It lasted a decade. A decade of research confirmed what millions of millennials already knew from living it. Workers who enter the labor market during high unemployment earn significantly less than comparable graduates who enter in normal years, and that earnings gap persists for 10 to 15 years. For Lisa, $8,000 less per year for 10 years is $80,000 in lost compensation over the first decade of her career. Of that $80,000, approximately $24,000 would have been investable, money that invested at age 26 at 8% for 36 years grows to approximately $130,000 at retirement. The salaries car cost her $130,000. That's component one. Now, let's look at what Robert was doing during those same years. Robert didn't sell. That is the single most important financial decision he made in 2008. In November of that year, with his portfolio already down 30%, he called his financial advisor ready to move everything to cash. His advisor talked him out of it. He listened. By 2012, his portfolio had fully recovered. By 2018, it sat at $580,000. The crash cost Robert 4 years of anxiety. It cost him zero permanent wealth. Assets recover. Starting lines don't recover, they just move. Component 2, the investment delay and the damage that's followed. Most millennials who graduated between 2007 and 2010 didn't start investing seriously until 2013 or 2014. Not because they didn't understand investing, because there was nothing left to invest. Lisa's timeline found a job at 23 in 2009, spent 2 years rebuilding an emergency fund that kept getting depleted, started contributing to her 401k, $150 a month, at 25, 3 years of delayed investing at age 22, 3 years of $300 a month, started at 22 instead of 25, at 8% for 40 years. The difference in retirement value, approximately $110,000. But the delay isn't even the most damaging part of component 2. Research found that investors who experience significant market losses early in their financial lives are measurably less likely to invest in equities for the following decade. Not because they don't understand markets, because their brain recorded the experience and generates fear every time they consider doing it again. 40% of millennials who pulled out of the market in 2009 never fully returned, staying in cash-heavy positions that underperformed by 3 to 4% annually for the next decade. On a $50,000 portfolio, that's $16,000 in real money, gone not from the crash, but from the fear the crash left behind. That's component 2. Component 3, the housing delay. By 2012, American home prices had dropped 30% from their 2006 peak. The best buying opportunity for residential real estate in a generation. Lisa knew this. She had been watching prices fall for 4 years. She had been saving. She was ready. The lender said no. Not because she was irresponsible, because she had a 3-year employment history that looked exactly like what it was. A young person who had graduated into the worst job market in 70 years and done her best to hold it together. Lisa bought her first home in 2017 for $245,000. The same home in the same neighborhood would have cost $162,000 in 2012. The equity difference between those two purchases, lower price, 5 extra years of appreciation and mortgage paydown accounts for approximately $100,000 in retirement net worth. Not from a bad decision, from a locked door. That's component 3. Add them together. Salary scar, $130,000. Investment delay, $110,000. Housing delay, $100,000. Total, $340,000. That is the financial cost of being 22 years old on September 15th, 2008. Not of making bad decisions, not of failing to plan, not of spending too much or saving too little, of being the wrong age at the wrong moment in history. Robert didn't cause this. Lisa didn't deserve it. The crash arrived. They were standing in completely different places, and the math of compounding wealth did the rest. But here's what the data also shows. The window isn't fully closed. The salary scar fades. The investment delay can be compressed. The housing gap can be bridged. And the specific moves that recover the most ground in the least time for someone in Lisa's exact position in 2026 are in the next section, because the crash already happened. The question now is what Lisa does with the years she still has. The crash already happened. The salary scar, the investment delay, the missed housing window, those are done. The math has already run. The $340,000 gap already exists in the trajectory, and none of the advice in the world about budgeting better, spending less, or working harder changes what happened between 2008 and 2015. But here is what the data shows about where Lisa actually stands in 2026. The salary scar fades. The research that documented it also tracked what happens after year 10. The earnings gap between recession graduates and non-recession graduates narrows dramatically in the second decade of a career. By the time most millennials reach their late 30s and early 40s, the salary differential has largely closed, which means Lisa, at 38 or 40, is now in the highest leverage earning window of her entire financial life, not her worst decade, her best. The salary scar took $130,000 from her retirement projection. But the decade between 38 and 48, if the surplus from finally earning what she was supposed to earn is directed deliberately, can put back more than that. If Lisa increases her monthly investment contributions by $400 starting at 38, bringing her total from $120 to $520 a month, and maintains that rate for 27 years until 65, her retirement projection moves from $375,000 to approximately $640,000. That single adjustment recovers more than the investment delay and part of the salary scar simultaneously. $400 a month. Start it now. For someone whose salary is finally where it was supposed to be a decade ago, that number is findable. The investment delay can be compressed. 3 years of missed contributions at the beginning cost Lisa approximately $110,000. That number feels permanent. It isn't. Compounding works in both directions. The same mechanism that made early contributions so valuable, time, is still working for Lisa. She has 27 years of runway left. The millennials who are most permanently damaged by 2008 are not the ones who delayed starting. They're the ones who delayed starting and then Let the fear from 2008 keep them in cash for the following decade. A Vanguard study found that investors who maintained equity-heavy portfolios through the crash and its aftermath, even those who started late, outperformed cash-heavy investors by an average of 4.3% annually between 2009 and 2020. On a $200,000 portfolio over 11 years, 4.3% is the difference between $330,000 and $520,000. The fear that 2008 installed in an entire generation of investors has cost them more in real dollars than the crash itself. The most important financial move Lisa can make in 2026 has nothing to do with her budget. It's deciding that what happened in 2008 is over and that the next 18 years will not be run by a fear that was formed when she was 22. The housing gap is the hardest to close, but it's not closed. The $100,000 in missed equity from the 2012 housing window is real. But equity can be built through different structures: house hacking, co-purchasing, geographic arbitrage into markets where the price to income ratio still makes ownership mathematically viable. Lisa doesn't need the same house Robert bought. She needs a structure that builds equity, any structure, before the compounding of rental payments continues to transfer wealth to someone else's balance sheet. Every year of delay on housing adds approximately $18,000 to $24,000 in additional rent paid, money that builds no equity, generates no appreciation, and compounds into nothing. Here is what the three-part picture looks like when Lisa runs it forward from 2026. The salary scar, fading. The highest earning decade of her career is now. The investment delay, recoverable. 27 years of compounding is still an enormous runway if the fear from 2008 doesn't keep her in cash for another decade. The housing gap, bridgeable, not through the same path Robert used, through a different structure built for the terrain that actually exists. Robert didn't get to choose September 15, 2008, neither did Lisa, but Robert was 48 when it happened. He had margin, he had assets, he had time that had already compounded into something resilient. Lisa was 22. She had nothing yet, which meant the crash took the starting line instead of the portfolio. And here is the thing about a delayed starting line. It is not the same as no starting line. It's a starting line that moved. And the distance between where Lisa is standing now and where Robert was at the same point in his financial life, measurable, real $340,000, is not a verdict. It's a number. Numbers have inputs. Inputs can change. The crash already happened. The next 18 years haven't. If 2008 changed your financial timeline, if you graduated into it, lost a job in it, or watched your first investments disappear in it, drop the crash in the comments. I want to know how many of you are rebuilding from it. And next episode, we're going to look at something Robert had that Lisa was never given. Something that has nothing to do with the economy, the crash, or the starting line. Subscribe so you don't miss it. The crash already happened. The next 18 years haven't.